Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Open Mike Podcast. The Open Mike Podcast is unofficially sponsored by Liquid Death. Liquid Death also makes tea, not just soda, not just carbonated water, but they make tea. Get rid of that old Southern diabetic tea and get you some Liquid Death. Only 19 milligrams of caffeine, so you don't get all wired and all jittery for the day. This shit's delicious. What can I say? Liquid Death, iced tea. Murder your thirst with Armless Billionaire. Check it out. Last week was on vacation, so I was gone, and it was Father's Day weekend, so I was incognito last week. Didn't post much on socials, wasn't very active, but here we are on a Monday episode of the Open Mic Podcast. So, um, yeah, hope everybody had a great week last week and a good weekend. Hope all the fathers, all the dads, granddads, great granddads, stepdads, father figures, if you're helping out and doing your part as a dad, as a father, as a male figure, as a positive influence, I want to wish everybody a belated happy Father's Day. If you're a fuck deadbeat, get your stuff together because anybody can make a child. Anybody can be a dad, but it takes a special human to be a father, so to speak. So, a lot of donators out there, and not a lot of people take care of their kids. So, dads, man, get on it, be better. I've talked about this in previous episodes. Get involved, be involved. If you have children, know what school they go to, know what the teachers' names are, know what they do, because you'd be surprised how many moms have told me that. And I've seen skits online, right, where they'll literally ask the dads what the teacher's name is, what the school is, a lot of information. Birthdays, like dads don't even they don't even remember birthdays, so everybody's like, man, dad gets a bad rap. Well, those dads make all the other dads look bad. Um, Dads, be involved, man. Get involved. Find out that know that information. Join the friggin' PTO. Volunteer some time. Um, yeah, dads, step up. I think dads do a good job personally, but back in the day, the old days, the moms were stay-at-home moms, and the dads were the workers and the breadwinners. And when kid was born, dad would take off an hour, go to the hospital. Baby was born, go back to work. That's just how it was, man. And it's not like that now. Things are different. Dads should be at home with the moms when the baby's born. They're just as important. You need that bond time, and plus, it also gives mom a break. Mom carried moms carry the baby for 9 months, and it's not easy. And then the whole process of having a child is not easy. It's taxing on the body. So, I think a lot of companies now understand that, and they give dads equal amount of time off. So, yeah, it's important, man. So dads get involved. But we got a lot to talk about this week. A lot of things going on, especially in the out in the world. A lot of rioting. I know a lot of people, talking about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it right now. See my hat? Rioting in LA. So, a lot of people upset, man, over the ICE. Trump ordered, ICE raids and a lot of deportations and things of that nature. And a lot of people upset. And so they're rioting, and they're protesting, and they're uh, not being peaceful, right? They're burning up things and destroying things. And part of me wants to say, yeah, I don't understand why you go in your community and destroy things, right? You destroy businesses that you shop at. A lot of small business owners that are trying, you know what I'm saying? Like they're struggling just like everybody else. And why destroy, a guy's convenience store on the corner when he hasn't done anything wrong, right? And I think for the most part, I think there's some hoodlums in there, right, that just wanted an excuse to destroy some things and just, be bad. But I also think, and I've never been in this situation because I'm not a minority. But when your voice is constantly not heard, right, and what do they say, like drastic times calls for drastic measures. So in order to say, hey, they're not hearing us, right? We need our voices to be heard. We're going to do something that's drastic. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. And a lot of people do not agree with it. And I would probably say the same. I don't think destroying your community is helping, right? But I've never been in a position where things have been so bad that I kind of went off the rails and felt like I had to go out and destroy things, or I had to do this to get people's attention. And I think a lot of people who are not minority, white people, tell minorities, and um that's a broad term, brown skin, could be blacks, it could be um you know could be people from Mexico, could be people from South America, but brown skin, we like to tell them how they should and shouldn't feel, and that's not fair. And I can't relate because I didn't grow up that way, right? Like, so I didn't go through, a lot of the adversities. I had a lot of friends, um, who were black when I was younger growing up, but I wasn't black. Like, I didn't have the same culture, and I just wasn't raised the same way. So, um, who am I to say, hey, you guys don't have a right to do this? I mean, people, it's your right to protest, for one. You like it to be peaceful, right? But it's not always peaceful. And when people feel like they're not being heard, they're not being given a fair shake, they're going to riot, they're going to tear things up. And it's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate when it's small business owners and the people who have nothing to do with that, that may be trying to help, when they catch the brunt of that. And that I don't like. I don't agree with that. But like I said, I've also never been in a position where I felt like this is my last, like, this is what I gotta do. It's like Kaepernick, man. So Kaepernick in the NFL years ago, when he was kneeling for the anthem, he was trying to say, hey, I'm trying to get everybody's attention, but instead everybody was more worried about him kneeling for the national anthem, not why he was kneeling, or what he was trying to get across. I wasn't a Kaepernick fan. I don't think he was genuine, honestly, but he was trying to get, people's attention for, how African Americans are treated in this country and how they've been treated. And I mean, they've done that for years, going back to, the civil rights movement, and those things. They did a lot of protests, and they did a lot of, um, unfortunately, did a lot of, a lot of times, neighborhoods got destroyed, places got burned. And I've never been in that position, to where I felt like this is the only way I can get someone to listen to me, is if I do this. And it's sad. It's sad when people to think that people feel that way, that that's the only way they can get their point across and get someone to listen to them, is go out and do this. Unfortunately, most of the time it doesn't work. People look at what they're doing and they're like, yeah, they're just savages. They're just tearing up cities. They're burning things down. And like I said, I think there's some bad people involved in that don't care either way. They just use an excuse to tear shit up, and I don't, no, I don't agree with that. But I think, a lot of times there's some people in there that legitimately are just fed up, and they're just tired, and they just want change, and it's not happening. And so yeah, the ICE thing started with, the Trump ordering deportation of illegals, and I get it. Look, you're here illegally; it's a risk you take. A lot of people come here, and it's not just from Mexico. I mean, people come from all over the world that come here on work visas or whatever, and the visas expire and they stay. But my question to a lot of people are, a lot of people don't really know the facts either, right? Like they're quick to just spout or repeat things they hear who are from people who are misinformed. Um, and a lot of it's just not true. They just don't know. And so, a lot of people come, from like say, Europe, the European countries, for example, they come here on visas and their visas expire and they don't leave. They're technically here illegal. But I never hear complaints. It's usually when you think of deporting uh, people who are illegals. It's usually when they show it, it's usually Hispanics, usually people from Mexico or South America, those countries. So, um, and like I said, look, if you come here illegally, right, you're taking a risk. You're taking a chance. And if you happen to get arrested and you get deported, then there's not much I can say because you're here illegally. Um, but I think a lot of people are upset because, and I get it, illegal is illegal. But I mean, there was like a story I read. This woman was brought here when she was 3 years old, never became a citizen. Why, I do not know. I personally don't think, from my knowledge of what I know about the process, it's not that easy. I know a lot of Americans that probably couldn't pass the test themselves, and they've born and raised here their whole lives. But um, there was a woman that was brought here. She was like 3, and she never became a citizen. She was like 30 some years old, and they were going to deport her. And she didn't speak Spanish. She spoke English. Like she never, she has a family here, and she's clearly been a positive, contributor to our society. Yes, technically she's illegal, but why are we going after people like that? Like, I feel like they want to get rid of the criminals that come into this country, right? And I hear this too also. Oh, I want to protect my family and protect my children. And a lot of these illegals coming here are raping and doing all this. People in this country do that all the time. And nobody says like, you're not worried about them. Like, there's people that live in my neighborhood that are, you can go online and look it up. Like, there's people live around you who may be pedophiles or on the sex offender registry list or whatever, that are white. You don't worry about them. So it's like, I don't think, it's just this, all this propaganda and this misinformation that people coming in this country are just all criminals, and that's not true. It's just not true. Like, I've worked with, years ago, I worked with people who came, started to come into this town that were, Hispanic, and they worked and they were fine. They didn't cause any problems, and I feel like, in the community I live in, they don't really cause any issues. Um, and I just think it's a bad look because there's not an influx of crime that comes from illegals, right? Like, there's just there's no factual there's no factual evidence that says that, right? Like, all of a sudden these illegals come in and the crime rate just soars, right? It's just simply not true. And it's just, you look bad when people say, "Well, I worried about them coming in here, and I got children I got to look out for." Well, do you worry about your neighbor who could be, you don't know? And I think it's to me, it's a racist thing to say. It's a racist thing to say, and it's very it's almost like I don't want to say like a stereotype because it's not that. It just, you just, you look like you have something against people who are other than white when you make those comments and you say things that, I don't want those people here. And then, like I said, Trump started this mass deportation and, these ICE raids, and they're just, the immigration in this country needs reform. And I think if there was a way to reform it, it would be a way to weed out the criminals that do come into this country. Um, I think for the most part, most people who come here are not criminals. I think that's a small percentage. Um, and there needs to be a way. The vetting process needs to be changed. It just needs it needs reform. I don't have the answers for that. I also, that's not my expertise. I don't do that for a living. Like, we elect people that we hope put in office that can make those decisions and come up with the right. But I hear a lot of people say, "Well, we're full. We don't need no more people here." Man, this country was founded on immigrants, man. So Um, and a lot of people bring up, well, my family moved here from Italy or whatever. Well, back then it was a lot easier. Whether people want to believe that or not, it's the truth. Like, in Europe, they would give people that option. Like, hey, if this isn't for you here, you can go to America. Come into to New York. Statue of Liberty. Um, give me your tired, give me your weak. Give me the people that nobody wants. And a lot of people migrated here. They came here from other countries to help build this country. Transcontinental Railroad was built on by immigrants. Um, but it was easier back then. I mean, it just was, and now it's not. It's they were more welcome then. Now they're not, and everybody's like, well, this country's full. We don't need no more people. Yeah, maybe. But Trump, he went back. He goes back on his word, and he's like, well, ICE don't go after the farming or the hospitality industry, right? So now we're not going to go after if people are here on a work visa, it's expired, or they're here illegally and they're working at a hotel, or they're working for farms, picking fruit and doing stuff like that. Now we're not going to go after them. Well, that just typical Trump. He goes back on everything he says. He talks a big game most of the time, and I feel like he does a lot of knee jerk. So he says a lot of things, and then like a couple weeks later, he starts thinking about it. Or somebody's like, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. Probably shouldn't." Oh yeah, we'll go back on it. So I feel like it's what he did. Plus, I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of lobbyists and people that he knows, are in those industries, and he's not going to do anything that's going to affect them. So yeah, don't arrest them, don't arrest them. We'll go after other people. But that woman that's been here for like 30 plus years, yeah, go get your citizenship. Like, just try. But yeah, why are they deporting people like that? Like, I've heard of immigrants like showing up to court, like for whatever reason they've been arrested, they got to come to court, whether it's a traffic violation or whatever. They show up to court and they arrest them and deport them. Like, let's let the legal system, work its way. Like, they're clearly showing up for court. They're not running. So why can't we just let that play out? Well, a lot of people are like, well, you're illegal. You don't get the right to due process. Yeah, I don't know. I just think when you constantly are talking about illegals and how, or anyone, it's not illegals. It's people that come here in general. As I've heard it, anybody wants to migrate here, we don't need you, and it's always people from south of the border. They don't say that. Your blonde receptionist that came here on a work visa from Europe, wherever. I bet nobody's running. They call ICE on her. You know what I'm saying? That's I call bullshit. And I think if you have those thoughts or whatever, like, it's just hard for me to think that you're not racist. It's just hard. Like, that's just how I feel, and I don't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat. I'm neither left or right. I'm an American, right? But I'm for the people, and yeah, I think immigration needs reform, and I think it would help. But everybody coming here is not a criminal. There's not a huge influx of crime when those people do come here and they migrate here. Um, and it's a false. It's just BS that those people try to play that card of I'm worried about my kids, or my wife, or I don't want anybody to get sexually assaulted, or or have crime committed against us, and this that. That's bullshit. I mean, I hate to say it, but white Christians commit just as many crime, or as majority of the crimes, as anybody else. And man, I'm probably gonna catch a lot of flack for this podcast, but I'm just keeping it real, man. And if anybody can't handle it, I mean, I'm always open for debate. I'm always open. I'm not here to try to change nobody's point of view. I'm just giving you my opinion and things that I talk about off of things that I've read and things that I've researched. And I don't like talking about things I don't really know a lot about. And I'm not very well versed in that, but I've worked with a lot of people who were from all over the world. And I never had a bad experience. Those people were very happy to be here. They were very fortunate because they have opportunities that they did not have in countries where they came from. And they were always very thankful. They were always very nice to me. Many of them worked more than one, two, or three jobs. Um, and I've never had a bad experience. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I have bad experiences with people who look like me. There's bad people. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is or where you come from. There's bad people in the world. Those people that migrate here aren't worse than the ones that are already here. There's plenty of monsters and bad people in this country that are not from other countries. They look like me. They're white. They're Christian. They're whatever, right? So I think we just need to stop that. But the problem is too many people want to talk. Nobody wants to listen. So um, that's just my take on it. There was where I live. There was a protest, a No Kings protest. So a lot of people are like, Trump wants to be a king. He wants to be a dictator. He wants a third term. He wants to be president. He doesn't want to come out. He doesn't. I don't know if I really believe that, but there are a lot of people here that do, and they were having protests this weekend called No Kings because they are saying like Trump wants to be a king. He wants to. Our republic. Our system we have in place here. A lot of people say that Trump wants to be like a dictator. He wants to get rid of that system, and I don't think that's true. I don't think people would allow that. I don't think other politicians would stand for that. But anyway, there was protests, peaceful people gathering, and just for something they stand for, and everybody's complaining. And I'm like, y'all complain when people protest and they're destructive, and you also complain and make fun and ridicule when they protest and they're peaceful. So what are they supposed to do? And a lot of people are like, well, they can vote. Yeah, voting is a right, just like you had the right to protest and gather too. So you can do both, right? You can protest and you can vote. But there was some kid who, like, I don't know, they said he accelerated as the crowd was dispersing, he like accelerated fast through the crowd and he hit somebody. I don't think nobody was injured, but that kid got charged. I mean, that's unfortunate. And this is dumb. He made a dumb decision. Uh, and you hate to see things like that. Like years ago, Charlottesville had some protests, and somebody drove through the crowd, and I think I think two or three people lost their lives during that, and you hate to see that, right? Because it's politics, and at the end of the day, man, we got to learn to just kind of not be dismissive, but listen to me, and I'll listen to you, um, and see where it goes. But man, when you start like you're in a car, you're in an SUV, and you start like fast accelerating through a crowd, man. Yeah, that guy could have killed somebody and ruined his life. I mean, he's probably done enough damage as it is. 21-year-old kid. He's got his whole life ahead of him, and look what happened. So that's unfortunate, man. You don't want to see stuff like that happen from either side. And like I said, I'm right down the middle, man. I'm not really left or right. I'm not blue or red. I'm for the people. I'm an American, and I like to do what's best for what I feel is our country and what I feel is best for our people. So, um, I don't know. That's a touchy subject, so I can only imagine people that start off listening to this are probably gonna be like, "Man, f this guy. I'm gonna follow him. I'm not gonna watch him anymore," which is fine. You're entitled to do that. But we could also have a discussion. We could debate it. You could comment. You could send me an email about it. Open Mike Podcast 76 at hotmail.com. No, Open Mike Podcast 76 at outlook.com. So you're saying Hotmail. Shoot me an email, man. Let me know what y'all think. Am I way out of line here? I'm more than happy to listen to anybody, man, wants to correct me or tell me their point of view or whatever. So comment, comment, shoot me an email. Let me know your thoughts on it.
For more awesome content, like and subscribe now.
So, But yeah, man, I wanted to. I was talking with a buddy of mine this week. Me and him go way back, and we've talked over the. We talk every once in a while. It's like one of those situations. Like we were friends. Back in the day, we were doing the car show thing, and me and his brother, and we had a little car club, right? And the club still exists. One of the guys that was the founding member of the club, he kind of brought it back, right? And we talk on and all. It's like one of those situations where you can not talk for months, and then you just kind of chit chat a little bit here and there. But it's like you never miss a beat. But he, we talk about a lot of things going down memory lane, and man, we were talking about. So we used to go to car shows, used to hang out. Like I used to go to his house. We eat. We used to watch wrestling. WWF together. Um, just good times, man. Good times, and we used to cruise the strip and do all that. And we got to talking about like uh, we was in the mall one day, and we was in Spencer Gifts. And if anybody knows Spencer Gifts in the malls, I know those things are like a thing of the past. It seems like, but Spencer's is like one of those stores that sells like all types of shirts and clothes, and they got like sex toys and that just all types of stuff, right? And it's just a cool store to kind of walk in. And there was a shirt in there, and it was a guy. It was a guy. So it was a guy. It looks like he was on top of a building with like a rifle, like a sniper rifle, right? And below you could see like a marching band, right? Looked like a parade. And the shirt said, "I love a parade." And there was a guy we knew, and we instantly thought of this guy, right? Because this one guy we knew, probably a little unhinged at times, or people thought he was. So, and I mean, we saw that and instantly thought of this guy, and we just laughed. And his wife was with us. I don't think they were married at the time. Maybe they were. But man, we laughed like people probably thought we was high. It was the funniest thing, and it was so funny because we didn't even need to say anything. We both thought the same thing and thought of the same guy, and it was hilarious. But I was thinking, he was like, "Man, there's no way that would fly now," and it probably shouldn't have been. It probably shouldn't have been made back then because it's insinuating that this guy's on top of a building with a sniper rifle during a parade. What do you think he's doing? He's mass shooting. Like, and the fact that this was in the 90s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, but to think that 25, 30 years ago, that was acceptable. Somebody was like, you know what? I got a good idea for a shirt, and it's gonna sell like hotcakes. Yeah, man, what's the idea? A guy on top of a building with a sniper rifle with a parade below, and it says, I love a parade. Who in the hell, like, could you imagine sitting in that marketing room when somebody said that and it was acceptable and they made it and sold it? And it's like, people bought it. And we got to talking about things that like we said or did when we were younger that was acceptable, right? Like, um, there's an actor. What was it? The show was called Community, right? I'm sure everybody's seen this GIF or this meme or whatever. And the actor is damn it, what is his name? Um, is it Ken Jeong? He played in the Hangover movies, but there he played on Community, and there was a scene where they was in a classroom. The guy says something. He's like, "Huh, gay," like that. And I know everybody's seen that, but back in the day, like when you said those things, like it meant like it's whack or it's corny or it's lame. They associated the word like gay or even the F word. Um, as like being lame, right? Or like if say I fell down as a kid, my buddy came to help me, I'd be like, man, I ain't no F word, man. I don't need your help getting up. I can get up. I'm fine. And those things were acceptable, back then, and probably shouldn't have been because they're definitely not acceptable now. And I think what happens is it's generational, right? Like I think every generation has something that they used to say or things they used to do that people accepted back then and probably shouldn't have, and now they don't, right? It all changes. And A lot of people are like, well, we weren't. They're a bunch of sissies now. We're weak. We're a weaker society. I don't know if we're weaker. I just think you kind of look back on things like, yeah, it probably wasn't all right to say. Like the R word, right? Or people like to say, oh, that such and such a son, they're a little slow. Man, I hate when people say that. Man, they're not. That's such a derogatory way of explaining that someone has a mental illness or a mental disability or um they used to use the R word and people used to say that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man, I was in traffic one day coming on, this was years ago. I was in traffic one day and I was doing what they call water bugging, where you're like kind of zipping in and out of traffic, like lanes like that. And I got pulled over and the cop was like, license, registration, whatever. He's like, why I pulled you over? And I was like, was I speeding a little bit? And he's like, yeah, you weren't really going that fast, but you were like kind of zipping in and out of traffic. It's kind of reckless. We call it water bugging. He's like, man, what would cause somebody to drive like that? And I said, man, I'm R word. Just, basically I was dumb. It was dumb. It was stupid. I shouldn't, but nobody should associate like people that have mental illness or mental disabilities with being dumb or stupid, right? And that's essentially what I did by saying that. And the cop laughed, right? And he's like, I've never pulled someone over and they told me the reason they were driving that way was because of mental deficiency, right? So he ended up letting me off. He gave me a ticket for no seatbelt, but that wasn't a nice thing to say. And I'm not afraid to admit that I was part of that generation, and I said things like that, and I made those comments. But as I've gotten older, right, and you start to look at things a little bit differently, and um, when you become a parent, I think you look at things differently then, and you just want to set a good example for people. And then, of course, I coach sports, I work with you, so you lead by example. And I think it's you can say, hey, I was wrong, I'm going to admit I was wrong, and I'm going to do better, and I'm going to prove I'm going to do better, and I'm going to set a better example for people and for the generations now. um are people offended more now? I, Maybe, I don't know. um I know none of my friends get offended, but I also, you kind of got to read the room, right? Like, I know when I'm around my friends, there's things I can say that we don't get offended. We don't, but there's the things we wouldn't say um, that just aren't acceptable. And so you try to not get in the habit of saying those things. And it's like people that use the N word, right? And I think a lot of white people use that word. I think a lot of Hispanics use that word. And everybody's like, well, it's a derogatory word. Yeah, it's a nasty, derogatory word. It's a terrible word. But you got to think that, like most, like rap music, right? For example, that word is used a lot. And, the demographic of most people that listen to rap music are white kids between, like a teenage to early 20 age, right? So, if that word is used by the masses in music and the masses are listening to it, I guess what's going to eventually happen? Those people are going to start using that word too, and it's just a bad word. It's just a derogatory word. Um, and it's a nasty word, and I think it should be eliminated. I don't think it should be used at all by anyone, but that's my opinion, right? And I'm not here to tell someone to think differently. I'm just giving you my opinion. I think it's a nasty word. So, but people are gonna do what they want to do, regardless of what I say. Or, some of my friends will be like, "Man, you've gotten soft as you've gotten older." Maybe. I just look back on a lot of things and it's like, yeah, maybe did I say something that might have offended someone at some point? Maybe someone was standing around I didn't know, and they got upset. They just never confronted me about it, or my friends. Yeah, possibly. But I think as we get older, we try to be better and we try to, overcome those things. And um, you just try to be better people, man. And it's okay to. I think it's okay to make mistakes, and um, I think it's okay to say things like that and realize that, hey, that wasn't okay, right? I shouldn't have said those things, and you become you grow. It's called growth, right? Like I don't feel like we ever stop growing, and that's what that is, you know. Like we just grow um, as you get older. You change, you grow. I think we should always strive to be better than we were. So. But yeah, I listened to a lot of rap music back in the day. I still do. 90s, rap and hip hop is my thing. I listened to a lot of music that I listened to growing up. Um, what's funny is that I listened to a lot. Like I had, talked about this in the past. Huge systems in my vehicles, right? A lot of bass, right, and that comes with a lot of rap and hip hop. But back then, I didn't really listen to like rock music. It was all rap and hip hop, right? And then once I started, I worked at the stereo shop, and one of the guys that worked there was big into like a lot of metal, like a lot of Corn and a lot of that stuff from a lot of those bands from the '90s. And I didn't realize that type of music had bass too. So I guess if you got enough subwoofers, enough power, man, anything's got bass. So I started to, kind of explore a little bit more into music and just wasn't, listening to just rap and hip hop, I feel like country music, that the best country music, the last good years of country music was in the '90s. I think anything post that kind of went pop is trash. Everybody loves Jelly. This guy Jelly Roll, man. I guess he has a good story. I don't know. He's a damn criminal. He's in out of jail, whatever his hardships he's talking about. I don't know. I think the guy's overrated personally. I don't think there's anything special about that guy, but that's my opinion. Um, but yeah, I got into a lot of that music, and my friend mentioned earlier, we listened to a lot of that. I remember Linkin Park when they first came out, and it's like, it's funny how your like taste change in things as you grow too, like as you get a little bit older. I couldn't stand '80s music I grew up in the '80s, right? I couldn't stand '80s music, but now I love '80s music. Actually, like one of my most favorite songs, like of all time, is "Drive" by the Cars. Um, that's just a classic '80s tune. I can put that on, man. I can listen to that thing 30 times in a row. I can just get in the car and just drive one night, man. Just turn that on. Um, so yeah, I mean, I learned to appreciate music more as I got older, and then, like I said, a little bit of country, not much. My parents like country; they like old country when country was like country, and it told a story. Um, my dad listens to a lot of bluegrass; he liked that, and that music's interesting because the banjo. I always heard you need six fingers to play a banjo. That's just a joke, but um, yeah, man, it's music. Music gets you through a lot, and yeah, I listen to music. I used to hate putting headphones on in the gym. Listen to me. I have the little beats that goes in the ear. But man, for years I'd work out and wouldn't wear none of that because I just felt like I just didn't like it. And then I got to a point where the gyms just started playing like pop music or a bunch of crap all the time. Yeah, especially a commercial gym. Commercial gyms are the worst they play the worst music. So I started putting headphones, earbuds in and listening to my own music. And yeah, I don't know. It's just as you get older, you appreciate. Like I started listening to more '70s, a lot of classic rock, which now, like music from the '90s is classic rock now. Like you'll hear Nirvana and all that stuff on radio stations. Green Day, I heard Green Day the other day. I was like, God, that's when you know you're getting old, man. We start hearing the music you heard as a kid or a teenager, or even in your early 20s when you start hearing that music in the classic rock stations, and you kind of know, like, at some point, when does '70s classic rock? It's not classic anymore, right? Like, if it's 50 years old, I feel like at that point it was classic rock in the '90s and 2000s. What do you call it? It's 2025. What do we still call it? Classic rock? Is it antique rock? Like, I don't know. I don't know what you call it. But yeah. Um, so, but yeah, man, I ran across the other day. I ran across this Instagram account, and this guy like kind of takes kids' nursery rhymes, right? And he kind of dubsteps them. I thought that I was like, man, that's whack. But then I was like, that's a genius idea because this guy's taking old nursery rhymes, right? And he's kind of putting a twist on it. And in a day and age when I feel like it's hard to be original, right? Because everything's kind of been done and you're trying to think of a way like, hey, how can I be original? How can I um not reinvent the wheel, but how can I take the wheel and make it better, right? So I'm gonna take nursery rhymes and I'm gonna dub stuff. I'm gonna turn it into like EDM style music, right? And I got to thinking, I've never heard like metal nursery rhymes. Like I've heard Snoop, like I think Snoop Dogg did some nursery rhymes, some rap, like you can put some hip hop, you can put some urban into it, but I don't know if I've ever heard like there's like the Kids Bop albums, like I get that those are kids singing like current songs, but I don't know if anyone's took like Old McDonald, right, and put a metal hook. Like we're gonna put some death metal on that, Old McDonald or Ring Around the Rosie, like just kids nursery rhymes. We're gonna put some metal on it, right? So I was thinking, man, if somebody wanted to make a kids nursery rhyme like metal album, like what would that be like, right? What would that sound like? And would it sell? Would people actually buy that for their children, or would they play that for their children, or would they be into it? And I know I've played around and done some goofy stuff with my family, and they seem to love it when I do things like that. So I'll play like air guitar, ring around the rosy, ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of like that. So I was like, man, if we had if you took like a metal riff, right? Like if you took something like this, right? Like how could we do that, or like even like this? I feel like you could do nursery rhymes of this, right? And I think people would listen to it. It's short, These are just examples, but if it was like what would go good with that? You know what I'm saying? Like what nursery rhyme would go good with that? Like let's. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on this farm he had a duck. You know what I'm saying? Like how would that go? Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. I don't know. I don't really have the voice to sing like Marble. I don't have the voice for that. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies. I don't have the voice for that. I just don't. I don't have that like metal voice. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a duck, E-I-E-I-O. I don't have the voice for it, but somebody might. I kind of sound like a country hick singing over some damn metal music, but I don't know. It's an idea, man. If somebody wants to do it. Somebody's got that voice. We can make it happen. We can definitely make that happen. If somebody's got that metal voice that can kind of I can't do it, man. That shit strain my damn throat. Trying to sing like Slipknot. Strain my damn voice box trying to do that dumb shit. I don't know, man. I think it should be funny. I think it'd be cool as hell. Honestly, I would buy it. I would play that stuff for my family. I think it'd be funny as hell. Damn, man, that's strange. That little bit of freaking, I ain't cut out for that, man. I ain't definitely ain't cut out for that. But anyway, yeah. Monday, na 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 na. Anybody remember that song? Monday. Everybody always is like, man, it's Monday. What did that dude say? You got a case of the Mondays? What was that from? Office Space? Anybody ever seen that movie? That movie was hilarious. Was that Mamas and the Papas that sang that? Monday, ba da da. So good to me. What the hell? Mondays ain't usually good to people. That's a mind state, though. I think people get in that mindset. Monday, so good to me. Monday morning, it was all I'd hoped it would be. Oh, Monday morning, couldn't guarantee. I guarantee you this. You miss a freaking Monday morning, you be having a bad Monday. And a lot of people are like, man, I got a case of the Monday. Sound like a case of the Mondays. He asked him that shit in Office Space. Hey, what would happen if somebody came to you and said you had a case of the Mondays? He's like, anybody ever said that? He's like, nah, man. Shit, nah, man. I think you get your ass kicked saying something like that. Mamas and the Papas. What was the song? He gave no warning. What was the B? How could you? Oh, it must have been. Oh, that was a shitty Monday. Then it sounded like he got broken up with on a Monday. Yeah, it'd be terrible. But usually things go bad. Like you come into work being off all weekend, right? And you come in and it's like computers ain't working. It's like, well, I guess they're still on weekend time. They're still off. Is it just a coincidence? Probably. If we started our work week on Tuesdays, everybody be like, oh, you got case of the Tuesdays. And some people, they do. Not everybody works Monday through Friday. And some people work, some people work weekends only. Some people work overnights. Man, I worked second shift one time. I hated it. Couldn't stand it. I've had friends that worked overnight their whole lives. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't do it. I think our bodies are not programmed that way. You trying to sleep during the day in broad daylight, man? I ain't no vampire, man. Just the hell with that. But I worked second shift a couple times. I couldn't stand it. I hated it. Hated it. Couldn't do it. So, somebody, I was like, I listened to a lot of sports talk. And the other day, the debate came up about, I talked about this, about LeBron and Mike. And a lot of people was like, man, I hate when we have those debates. And I didn't think about this, but this opened my eyes. It's like when we have debates like that, the guy was like, man, I don't like it because we build one up and tear the other person down. And that's 100% true. Instead of admitting that two players or multiple players can be great, we're too busy making a point saying, well, this guy was great, this guy sucks, or this guy's not as good as that guy, instead of just saying, hey, they're both great. Why can't we do that? It's like we take the time to tear each other down. It's like we're going to tear this guy down to hype this guy up. And it's, it was a good point. Like, why do we have to tear one down to build one up? Can't we build them both up and say they were both great? But everybody wants to say, well, no, this guy was better than that guy. Or we're talking about like top 5 greatest players of all time. Well, we can explain why they were great, but we don't have to put the other ones down to do that, do we? Can't we just say, hey, they were great and this is why? And then when someone says, well, why don't we, well, let's compare stats. Like everybody always looks at like a player's portfolio, right? And they look at from like the year they started to the year they stopped. No, I don't think you should do that. I think you take like their 6 best years and say, all right, we're going to analyze the 6 best years of these athletes. And then let's see let's look at those numbers and then compare numbers, and we just kind of go off of that. But why do we have to tear one down to build the other one up? I don't think we have to do that. I don't think we should do that, but it happens. A lot of people do that. Um, but yeah, NBA Finals is going on. Hockey, Stanley Cup Finals is going on. Baseball season is so long, man. I don't even really kind of start watching baseball till after their midway point, their All-Star point, because teams can literally turn around the second half of baseball. There's so many games, but there's a lot of football, um, mini camps going on right now, and then they'll go to um, regular camp starts in July, I think, end of July. So I mean, football's right around the corner, man. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna really get into some sports, man, when football season gets popping. Because when I started my podcast, football season was already over. So yeah, we're gonna talk about some NFL. We're gonna talk about some fantasy. You know what I'm saying? I like to play a little fantasy football. I like to play FanDuel. I gamble, but I don't. We're talking about a dollar here and there, nothing spectacular. And then uh, yeah, I like a little fantasy, but yeah, I love one team, and I think when you're in the fantasy, it's kind of hard. Like you kind of want to root for players, not like teams. Like it's a lot of individuals, so um, it's kind of hard. But yeah, football season be starting, man. We'll be getting into sports. Um, we're gonna definitely talk about football a little bit more each week. We're gonna do some recaps. I'll probably have a segment, because I like college football too, so what I'll probably end up doing is having a segment each week where we talk about what's going on here. Where we talk about football, what happened over the weekend, what games are coming up. Man, football it's so weird now because it's like football on Saturdays, football on Sundays, football on Thursdays, football on Mondays, football on Christmas. Like Christmas used to always be NBA. Right now you got NFL on Christmas. Um, And it's all about money, man. We're playing more and more games overseas outside of the U.S. Uh, there's a UFL, like the DC Defenders, I think is what they call. I think they've won the UFL championship twice now. But I think there's only like 4 or 6 teams in that league or something like that. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with that. Um, but that's cool. They won, and I mean they won handily. So I saw some highlights of that. But yeah, man, I think when football season comes around, I'm gonna start a segment each week, and we're gonna talk about, do a recap on some of the games. You know what I'm saying? I'll do a recap each week of NFL games and uh, some highlights and stuff like that. I think it'd be cool. I don't know. Open Mike Podcast 76 at Outlook.com. If you guys want to share your thoughts on that, let me know. Uh, let me know what you think. I think it'd be a cool segment. Maybe have some guests on each week talk about football. Get the thoughts on that. But yeah, man. Let's see here. Let's see. I think it's time for Open Mike Mailbag. Mail call. Open Mike Mailbag. Let's see. Let's open up the old email here. What we got here? All right. Actually, I got an email from a buddy of mine. Man, we go way back like 4 flats on a Cadillac. I know some of your content is Greek to a lot of folks, but I can relate to every single bit of what you're talking about because we grew up in pretty much the same town. The Ranger, the Mazda, the hardby. I think he meant the Isuzu. I never had a Mazda. I do now. The trips to the mall, etc. All of it. I love it. I was thinking about some topics to discuss, and he threw some suggestions out there: music, sports, fashion, sneakerhead. Work life, current events, more sport, more tea. Keep doing you, bro. I love it, man. I appreciate it. I ain't gonna toss your name out there because you probably won't stay anonymous, which is fine. But I appreciate, man, all, especially when people that I know that are close to me that listen to my podcast and they always encourage me and say, "Hey, man, I like your podcast because you don't talk about like like you talk about real things that affect us every day." And it's like I think a lot of people can relate because I don't talk about a lot of like celebrities and all. Man, that's a bunch of crap, man. I don't care. They're all, those people are on another level, man. I cannot relate to anything they do. But I like to talk about things that I feel like we relate to or my friends relate to or my family or people my age or, people in my circle, whatever, right? I feel like I try to relate to the everyday person, you know. And when I started this podcast, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about a lot of my personal experiences and a lot of points of view from my life and my perspective, right? And share that with people and give them a perspective maybe they've never seen, and then in return they can do the same for me. Um, so it's really I love to hear when people say, "Hey, man, I listen to your podcast. I love your podcast. I think it's cool." And that means a lot. And I've had people reach out who I would not have thought would ever listen to my podcast that reach out and say, "Yeah, man, we love your podcast. I love listening to your podcast every week." So, hey, man, we go way back like four flats on Cadillac. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the support, man. I really appreciate that. So let's see. Um, Here we go. Constructive and encouraging. Subject: loving the vibe. One suggestion. Hey, Mike, big fan of the podcast. I've listened to every episode since episode 3. Love how raw and unfiltered you keep it. The conversations feel like hanging out with a good friend. One suggestion. Have you thought about bringing on a therapist or mental health expert? I think a pro's perspective during one of these deep dive episodes could really resonate. Keep pushing. You got something real here. Respect, James. James, I appreciate, man. I appreciate those. Appreciate you listening to the show. Appreciate the email. And yeah, that is a great suggestion, honestly. And I've honestly, um, I really thought about that, having a therapist on or doing a session. Um, Not a session, but having them on for a 30-minute Q&A or whatever, and let them talk about some of the things they see and possibly ways to help people and avenues that people can get help if they want help. Yeah, man, that's a great suggestion, and one I'm definitely going to try to work on. I think that's a great idea, man, and um I really appreciate the email, man. I appreciate you, giving me that suggestion. Appreciate you listening to the show. So yeah, man, that's a great idea, and I'm definitely gonna put that in the old vault because I thought about that before. So yeah, man, I'd like to do that. That's a good idea, man. I appreciate you. Let's do one more, man. One more. Uh, what we got here? Here we go. Inspirational and personal. Your podcast helped me through a rough patch. Hi, Michael. I just wanted to let you know your podcast has been a small but meaningful light in a really tough year. I'm also a single dad trying to balance work, parenting, and healing after a loss. Episode 4 about your struggles hit me like a freight train in a good way. You reminded me that I'm not alone. Keep talking. People like me are listening. All the best. Corey. Corey, I appreciate you emailing and listening to the podcast. And yeah, man, I like to talk about my struggles because some people is like, man, it takes a lot to show your vulnerability, and it does. I agree. And hopefully me being vulnerable and showing people that, hey, man, I'm human. Man, I'm nothing. I'm no better than anybody else, man. And I suffer from things, and I struggle at times, and it's okay to struggle, and we don't have to do it alone. You're not alone. Nobody's alone, man. You don't have to do anything alone. Some people may want to. Some people may seek help, and they want to do it by themselves. But you don't have to. And yeah, man, it's tough. Parenting's not easy. Work comes in. There's a lot of stressors we got to learn to handle. We got to have ways to deal with those stressors. Um, and then you throw in, losing if you had a loss, or, a loved one, or that it just all starts to compile together, man. And if you don't handle those things start to build up inside, and it's just like it's like a ticking bomb, man, waiting to go off. And I've talked about this, right? Like things that happen throughout the day, if you don't deal with those stressors right then and they build up, and then at the end of the day, you come home and your dog has accidentally peed on the floor, or whatever. You're sitting there eating dinner and somebody spills a glass of milk on the floor, and you're just like, oh my god, and you just blah blah blah, just start blowing up. And if you do that, man, nothing good is gonna come from that. You look like a psychopath, and you don't want. No, I don't want that. I don't want that for any of my listeners. I don't want that for anybody, right? And I don't want it for myself. Unfortunately, I have been victim of that, and I have had that happen, and that's how I've learned. Like, hey, you got to be better. You got to be better, and everybody else. You know, it's hard, man. It's tough. Life ain't easy, but you gotta get through those things, man. And for me, like working on things throughout the day that cause those stress levels to increase. I don't want those. Like when I get off work and I go through the door at my house, I want that stuff to be left at the doorstep. I don't want that in my home. I don't want to bring those things into my home. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, a lot of things to find out what works for you and how you can deal with those things. And it's hard, man. It's something I work on every day of my life. It's called growth, and we grow as people, and we want to be better. And it takes time. It takes time to get through that, and it's hard, man. And I don't always do the best at those things, but I do my best, and it's not from lack of effort. But I can tell you, every day I'm better than I was yesterday, and that's a goal of mine. And Corey, I appreciate you listening to the show. Everybody that's emailed in, I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate the emails, the suggestions. Um, like I said, Open Mike Podcast 76 at Outlook.com. Anybody wants to email in, talk about things we talk about on the show. Maybe you got a story, maybe you got a suggestion, maybe you got a constructive criticism, maybe you want to tell me I suck. I'll listen to it, I'll read it, I'll take it all in stride, man, because at the end of the day, man, I'm here for you. I'm here for you guys. And just remember, man, try to be better than yesterday. Try to. It's a crazy world, man. It's crazy times, and a lot of things are going on. And you turn the TV on, and it's a lot of negativity, and it's just there's a lot of good out there, though. There's way more good than there is bad, and a lot of people will tell me that's not true, and I refuse to believe that. I know there's more good than bad in this world. I know there's more good people than bad people in this world. It's up for us. It's up to us. The TV's not going to do it. The media's not going to do it. Bad news sells. That's what they're always going to hear. It's up to people like us. Every day, your blue collar, everyday average working people, your people who are your average Joes who may struggle at times and make a living, but we do our best. It's up to us to spread positivity and tell everybody, man, the world is a great place. The world is a good place. There's a lot of positivity in the world. It's up to us to spread that positivity and show people like this is what the world's about. It's not about the hate. It's not about the things you see on TV or you hear on the radio. A lot of positivity, man. It's up for us to spread that. It's up to us to preach those things, right? I think it is anyway. I think it's my responsibility to try to do those things, and I do the best I can, but every day I wake up, I'm thankful for that. I just ask that I wake up and I'll take care of the rest. I'll make today better than it was yesterday. And like I say, man, remember, tough times don't last. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Peace.